In 1994, an emergency room in California descended into chaos. Medical staff began collapsing one by one as they treated a single patient. Their faces burned, they couldn't breathe, and some ended up in intensive care. And fair warning, what you're about to learn might make you question everything you think you know about the human body. Our first case starts in February 1994 at Riverside General Hospital in California. Gloria Ramirez was rushed to the emergency room suffering from advanced cervical cancer. What happened next would earn her the chilling nickname, the Toxic Lady. As medical staff began treating Ramirez, they noticed something odd. Her skin had a mysterious oily sheen, and her breath carried a peculiar fruity, garlic-like odor. When nurse Susan Kane drew blood from Ramirez's arm, she noticed something that would trigger a chain of horrifying events. The blood had a strong ammonia-like smell, and floating within it were strange, manila-colored crystals. Within moments, Kane felt her face burning. She passed the blood sample to Dr. Julie Gorkinski before fainting dead away. Gorkinski examined the sample and quickly became nauseated. She too lost consciousness. By the end of the night, 23 hospital staff members had fallen ill. 5 required hospitalization. 1 nurse spent 2 weeks in intensive care. The emergency room had to be evacuated, and Ramirez, sadly, passed away just 45 minutes after arriving at the hospital. The investigation that followed reads like a medical thriller. Scientists proposed that Ramirez had been using a pain relief substance called DMSO, which, when combined with oxygen and electric shocks from the defibrillator, might have created a toxic gas. But her family denied she ever used such substances, and to this day, the true cause remains a mystery. Just when you thought dentist visits couldn't get any scarier, let me introduce you to one of the strangest medical phenomena of the 19th century: spontaneously exploding teeth. In the 1800s, several cases emerged of people whose teeth literally exploded inside their mouths. One of the most well-documented cases was that of a woman known as Letita D. She had been suffering from excruciating tooth pain for days when suddenly she heard a loud crack in her mouth, like a pistol going off. Her tooth had literally exploded, and strangely enough, the pain immediately disappeared. But here's where it gets even weirder. This wasn't an isolated incident. Multiple cases were reported throughout the 1800s, all following a similar pattern: severe pain, followed by an explosive crack, and then relief. Yet after the 20th century began, these cases mysteriously stopped appearing. Scientists have struggled to explain this phenomenon. Some suggested it might have been caused by early dental fillings, a mixture of metals creating some kind of chemical reaction. Others proposed trapped gases or bacteria. But to this day, no one has been able to definitively explain why teeth were spontaneously detonating in people's mouths. Now we come to one of the most bizarre mass medical phenomena ever recorded: the dancing plague of 1518 in Strasbourg, France. This isn't a metaphor or an exaggeration. People literally danced themselves to death. It began with one woman, Frau Trofea, who started dancing in the street one July morning. She continued non-stop for 6 days. Within a week, 34 others had joined her. By August, the number had swelled to 400 people. These weren't people having fun at a medieval festival. They were dancing uncontrollably, unable to stop even as their feet became bloody and their bodies gave out from exhaustion. Many died from heart attacks, strokes, and pure exhaustion. The authorities' response makes this story even more unbelievable. Local physicians, believing the dancing was caused by hot blood, recommended that the afflicted should keep dancing until it worked its way out of their systems. They even built special stages and hired musicians to keep the dancers going. The plague finally ended in September, but not before claiming numerous lives. While many historians attribute this to mass hysteria triggered by extreme stress and religious fervor, others suggest it might have been caused by ergot fungus, a grain contaminant known to cause hallucinations. Before modern medicine, losing a limb was almost always a death sentence. That's what makes the case of Samuel Wood so extraordinary. Working at a windmill on London's Isle of Dogs, Wood had his entire arm violently ripped from his body by the machinery. Now, in an era before antibiotics or proper surgical techniques, this kind of injury should have been fatal. The shock alone would have killed most people. But Samuel Wood didn't just survive, he barely seemed bothered by it. According to medical records from the time, Wood showed almost no signs of pain or distress. Even more remarkably, he made a complete recovery without any medical intervention. The case became so famous that his severed arm was actually put on display, attracting crowds of curious onlookers. This case baffled medical professionals of the time and continues to puzzle modern doctors. How did he survive such massive trauma without modern medical care? And why didn't he experience the expected level of pain? Some mysteries, it seems, remain unsolved even centuries later. In 1726, Mary Toft became the talk of England when she claimed to give birth to rabbits. Yes, you heard that right, rabbits. Not one, not two, but several rabbits. The local surgeon surgeon, John Howard, was initially skeptical, but after witnessing what he believed to be several rabbit births, he became convinced and sent letters to many of England's prominent physicians. The case even caught the attention of King George I, who sent his personal anatomist to investigate. Mary Toft became a national sensation. People traveled from all over England to see the woman who could give birth to rabbits. Some of the country's most respected doctors examined her and were completely fooled. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. The hoax was only discovered when a porter was caught sneaking a rabbit into Toft's room. Under intense questioning, she finally confessed to inserting dead rabbits into her body to stage the births. The scandal ruined the reputations of several prominent doctors who had verified her story. It became a cautionary tale about the need for scientific skepticism and proper investigation, a lesson that remains relevant in modern medicine. Just when you think the toxic lady case couldn't be topped, wait until you hear about the people who lived normal lives with almost no brain tissue. In 2007, doctors in France encountered a case that would challenge everything we thought we knew about human consciousness. A 44-year-old man walked into the hospital complaining of mild leg weakness. When doctors performed a brain scan, they couldn't believe their eyes. Where there should have been brain tissue, they found mostly fluid. This man had been living with only 10% of his brain matter. Here's the truly mind-bending part. This man wasn't just surviving, he was living a completely normal life. He was married, had 2 children, and worked a regular job. His IQ of 75, while below average, wasn't even considered intellectually disabled. This case left neurologists questioning everything they thought they knew about how much brain tissue we actually need to function. But this isn't an isolated case. In another instance, doctors discovered a Chinese woman in her 20s who had lived her entire life without a cerebellum, the part of your brain responsible for balance and motor control. She didn't even know it was missing until she went to the hospital for a completely unrelated issue. Imagine having hiccups not for hours, not for days, but for years. That's exactly what happened to Chris Sands, whose case started as an annoying inconvenience and turned into a life-threatening mystery. Sands would hiccup every 2 seconds for up to 14 hours straight. The constant hiccuping cost him his job, his girlfriend, and nearly his sanity. Doctors were baffled. They tried everything from traditional medicine to hypnosis. Nothing worked. Then, in a twist worthy of a medical drama, the answer came while Sands was being filmed for a Japanese documentary. An MRI revealed what countless other tests had missed: a tumor growing on his brainstem. Without that random TV appearance, Sands might never have discovered the real cause, and the tumor would have killed him within 2 years. But if you think that's a long time to hiccup, wait until you hear about Charles Osborne. This Iowa farmer hiccuped continuously for 68 years, from 1922 to 1990. That's over 430 million hiccups in his lifetime. And then, just as mysteriously as they started, they stopped a year before his death. The year was 1848, and Phineas Gage was having a perfectly normal day at work on the railroad until a 3.5-foot-long, 1.25-inch diameter iron rod shot through his head like a bullet. But here's the truly unbelievable part. Gage survived. Not only did he survive, but he was conscious and could speak within minutes of the accident. He reportedly told the doctor, "Here is business enough for you." The rod had entered under his left cheekbone and exited through the top of his head, taking a significant portion of his brain with it. By all medical knowledge of the time, he should have died instantly. Instead, he became one of the most important cases in neuroscience history. However, while Gage survived physically, his personality underwent a dramatic transformation. Friends said he was no longer Gage. The formerly mild-mannered, efficient foreman became irritable, unreliable, and prone to profanity. This case provided the first clear evidence that specific parts of the brain control specific aspects of personality. Today, Gage's skull and the infamous iron rod are on display at Harvard's Warren Anatomical Museum, a testament to one of the most incredible survival stories in medical history. So what do you think? Which of these cases surprised you the most? And what other medical mysteries are still out there waiting to be discovered? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories from history.